A motion by Helmut.
Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the township. You know those government people that make laws and regulations that affect you out there.
That's right, Elgin. And whether you live in the village of Oxford, the village of Leonard, Addison Township, or Oxford Township, these are the people you went and elected. And the commissions and the committees that make decisions that directly affect you, whether you chose to go to that meeting or not. And the result can be a taxing
situation.
You betcha.
Could be. And as David said, you may want to attend these meetings because there's lots of things that go on in those meetings that you just don't find out unless you watch Minutes by Minute, which we have a shorter version of what those meetings would be. Because you know, some of those meetings run an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I've seen them.
But if you choose to punish yourself, you can get on our website and watch the entire thing. We don't cut out anything.
Well, when you say don't punish yourself, I was afraid you're going to refer to Minutes by Minute.
No,
but do watch.
We keep it short.
We keep it short, and you'll get the gist of what those meetings.
This is the Reader's Digest version.
This is the really skinny of it, right?
Yep.
There's one other thing that happens here in this particular segment, and that is one of us spreads rumors, and that would be this guy, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I spread them, but he confirms them.
He spreads them pretty good, by the way. But you got to glean those out, you know, from our conversation, what goes on. But a couple of meetings that came up that we want to talk about.
What he's saying is what we say is mostly true.
Yeah,
But
mostly, pretty much.
Like ivory soap.
It is, yeah. We're going to talk about the Village of Oxford ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals, right? Addison Township Board of Trustees meeting, which was on February 11th. Now, the ZBA board is headed up by Rose Bama, and she also serves on the Planning Commission for the village. Marilyn Benner serves on the village ZBA. I serve on it, but I was absent, and I'll explain to you why I was absent.
You do get
as we
around.
go along. I do, once in a while. Sue Bassardet also serves on that board, but she was absent at the time. And then Dave Bailey serves on the board. By the way, I think that's a mistake in my mind, in my thinking.
What's that?
I think Susan did show up, you know, for the meeting, and I think Dave Bailey was the one that was missing.
Oh.
So we'll change that around. That could be a rumor.
So she's an alternate?
No, she's going to be the real thing. I think she's appointed by the new village manager.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
The first thing they did, of course, is the Pledge of Allegiance, and then there were three. They want to know how many consecutive meetings that you could miss as a member of the ZBA before
Getting a black
actions-
star on your personal record?
Black star, whipped, put in isolation, all kinds of things.
Oh,
could happen to you.
well, what penalty were they thinking about?
Well, they're thinking if you miss 3 times, 3 out of 7 meetings supposedly. Now that's kind of a nebulous thing because the Zoning Board of Appeals, they only meet maybe once or twice a year sometimes.
You're being rather nebulous about the what else.
What else? Yeah, I'm trying to skip right on by that, so you would spread a rumor.
Is there a penalty that will be imposed?
Yeah, they could lose their seat. You know, you don't want to lose their seat.
Will they lose their position?
They could lose their position as well as their seat.
Oh, I see.
Could lose 2 things all at the same time.
Okie dokie.
Catastrophe. Anyway, so it was pointed out that that's something that they need to keep an eye on. But you know, 3 consecutive times now. Let me see. They meet 2 times this year. They meet 1 time next year. Oh, wait a minute now. 3 out of 7. Okay.
Is this one in
Could
a
be a while.
12-month period or a calendar year?
Normally it would be a calendar year, and I don't think they really know how it's to be handled. So we could spread a rumor. You want to do that?
So they tabled it.
So they want more information on it. So it was kind of set aside rather than tabled.
I see.
So
What's the difference?
set aside means it's going to be on the agenda coming up.
Yes.
If you set it aside, it may never show up again. It's buried, you know.
You just said if it was set aside, it would
Or,
show
I'm
up on the
sorry.
agenda again.
Well, which one would you like it to be?
I haven't got a clue. I was asking you.
But obviously you don't understand. You don't want to ask me. Okay, you got that. Okay. But anyway, set aside as to opposed to
Tabling,
tabling. Right.
which
If
goes
you table it,
undefined.
it can go on anytime or never if you table it.
Yeah, but if you set aside,
If you set it aside, it means it'd probably be in the next meeting, more than likely.
or not.
It would be. You know, if it's put on the agenda, it could be put on the agenda in the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, got that straight? I tried to hide it from him, but, you know, once in a while
I'm persistent.
he is persistent. So anyway, they got on with the meeting. The minutes were approved for December 3rd, 2018. The agenda was approved. Well, now we're whipping through here. Public hearings, no public hearings. Old business, postpone appointment of board officers. Now, here's where we're getting back to why Elgin Nichols was absent. It appears that
Usually that's the one that gets elected to something.
right. Well, I'm actually the vice chair right now of that board and was appointed to that, you know, by the members.
So they're going to wait for a full board before they do this.
You're not letting me explain what it is, though.
But you're going on.
I will.
Go on.
No, I shall continue. But anyway, what it is if you're a member of the DDA council, you cannot be on the zoning board of appeals. That's the
Is that a conflict of
Charter.
interest?
it's part of the charter of the ZBA. And so somebody brought this up, and they said, hey, Elgin shouldn't be on this board. The thing that they missed out on is the fact that Elgin is appointed to the Downtown Development Authority through the township and appointed as a trustee by Bill Dunn and the trustees on that board to serve as representatives of the township. So different than an individual that serves the capacity of
From the village.
residency from the village on that board and also wishes to serve on the ZBA from the residency. So they had to confer this with the attorney, Bob Davis, to find out, you know, if Elgin can serve on this board or not.
Lawyers love this, billable hours.
They do. And I haven't heard anything about it yet, so folks, I don't know. Will he ever return? I don't know. He might return.
But his fate is still unlearned.
Right, but the point of it is that as representative of the township, there's no way that Elgin, me, would give up the DDA as an appointment.
Because you like it.
Well, it's because I'm taking on responsibility of what the township wants me to do in a larger capacity. So.
And yet you are a resident of the village.
I am a village resident, yes. So, you know, I don't get it. You folks probably don't get it either. Why you can't serve on these boards, but you can. I couldn't serve on the village council as well for the same reason, because they're a charter. So even though I would like to help in some way in the village council for the village or in the ZBA,
Because of your
I may not
township
be able to.
position.
Yep.
Okay.
Because you folks in the township elected me to a position which I was appointed to. Now may not be able to do. So let's talk more when we come back right after this, folks.
We're Oxford boys, swim and dive, and you're watching OCTV.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we have been talking about the Village of Oxford Zoning Board of Appeals and how Elgin is in limbo. Not sure if he's going to be on that board or not. But anyway, that will be resolved by the attorney.
As always.
His opinion, right? So let's go on. Public hearings, none. Correspondence, no correspondence. Then, let me see, they had a discussion on bylaws. And the concern was that they had passed through the village council, moving from 7-member ZBA to a 5-member.
How'd that go?
It went well. It was approved.
Okay.
So 5 members now instead of 7 members. That's good because it's difficult really to find people that will serve on the zoning board of appeals, number one. Number two, to have the background required, you know, to make those decisions, because this is a legal portion of the government. You know, what is final is like a judicial system. You know, the court,
Quasi-judicial.
yeah, ends there. You know, when a decision is made by the zoning board of appeals, it holds up. If the individual doesn't like the response from the zoning board of appeals, then they can appeal it to the circuit court. which is
Right.
the next move.
Right.
Which normally I've not seen survive because everything is documented well. Of course, normally we have OCTV there as well, our TV station doing the recording.
Verbatim.
So, yep. And so any judge can look at that information to see exactly what went down. Public comments. No public wanted to speak.
Okay.
So they're all hiding under their chairs, as you say, checking out their shoes.
Gotta keep them shined.
Yep. Clerk is to review with McKenna and Associates, who is Mario, terms of the 3-year appointment. That if somebody leaves the Zoning Board of Appeals, how soon must that person be replaced?
And is he replaced for the duration of the term,
For the duration of the term, that's correct.
or
Yep.
just for a new term?
Nope. Duration of the term, and they have 30 days to replace that person, is according to the charter. And that term, of course, will be the conclusion of the three-year term that the individual couldn't serve it, or they'll start out fresh in a 3-year term. Okay? So that's the way that works. By the way, the Zoning Board of Appeals, they need, for the village, alternates, people that will fill in case the regulars cannot make it. So if you folks would like to get indoctrinated as to what the Zoning Board of Appeals does, if you got that kind of background in terms of building, development, those kind of things, and reading blueprints, all those kinds of things, and you like to see what's going on and be part of it, become an alternate by contacting the village manager, and that would be Joe Madure.
I see.
So that takes care of that. And next, now let's talk about the Addison Township Board of Trustees meeting, shall we?
We shall.
Enthusiasm.
We shall.
All right. That would be.
You go, boy.
All right. February 11th, 2019 was the meeting. Bruce Pearson, of course, is the supervisor at Township, and he serves as the chair. Pauline Bennett is the clerk, and Lori Fisher, she serves as the treasurer. Trustees are Jacob Newby, and Jacob is doing a pretty good job out there too, by the way. And as are all these trustees, Joel King, Linda Garrick, who is not a shy individual in letting her points be known, is good, and Eric Sent, who everybody knows Eric Sent, very knowledgeable, very smart guy, and he's been serving these boards for a number of years. Excuse me, and but you'll be hearing more about Jacob Newby as we move along here in segments to come.
Right. Well, actually, Jacob is a representative on the OACCC too.
He is. So somebody has to keep an eye on this guy. That's all I got to say. And Jacob would be a good one to keep an eye on him, for sure.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, what you need to do is ask Jacob. Okay. He probably would be enlightening.
Why is he looking at me like
Why
that?
is that guy looking at me? I don't know. But anyway, apparently it could be rumors.
Hey,
Now, these
I start
rumors-
the rumors, you don't.
Yeah, all right. Well, this one I may have done
Well,
that. Okay.
I gladly give up that crown.
Okay, no, you can't do that. Pledge of Allegiance went through. Prayer, they have a prayer beginning of each of their meetings, and Jake Newby did the honors for that. Announcements, none, no announcements. Petitions, no petitions. Department reports, financial report was the first issue that came up. Public can contact the office. For example, if you want to know exactly what the financial reports are, that's not private information. You can get that information by calling the supervisor or the deputy supervisor of Addison Township. Order of business. Request by Clerk Bennett to add budget amendments for the building department for revenue and expenses. So she made a motion to do that. It was accepted to put it on the agenda. Consent agenda was the next thing, and the consent agenda consisted of the January 14th minutes, the January 2019 bills. Can you say ka-ching, ka-ching?
Ka-ching.
Okay. And again, that information is available both on their website, and also you can get it from the Treasurer's Department. Park Ranger appointment. There was an appointment made for Greg Gradowski, and through the second month, 28 day, up to 2022. his appointment would be. And it was approved.
Is that a paid position?
Yeah, it's a paid position.
Okay.
Park ranger. Whoa, wait a minute. No, it's not. It's voluntary. But they screen everybody.
You did it now. You gave him a raise and you can't take it back.
Yeah, you do all the time, so I'm not really too concerned about that. But
What?
Park rangers, they scrutinize them pretty good in terms of background and, for example, you don't want somebody that is going to go around kicking Smokey the Bear or pushing the
That's a dangerous thing to do, you know.
Right. Taking the skunks and bringing them into the cabin, into the administrative
Getting a little
building.
bit too close to nature?
Get a little too close to nature. So you don't want those kind of things to happen. So they really do scrutinize these rangers. And by the way, the rangers do a terrific job out there in Addison. They maintain the trails and through the park areas, make sure they're nice and clean.
How many park rangers are there?
Oh, I think there's 12 maybe?
Really?
It was at one time. I think 14, at one time 16 maybe. But no, quite a few volunteers. That's one thing about Addison Township. It's like, Mayberry, RFD. It's you step back in time and all these people, they know everybody, they know all their neighbors, and they whenever there's a voluntary requirement, they all jump in to help. Be it manual labor or if they're looking for funding, if they're looking for organizational means, for charities, those kind of things.
Raising
They're all
barns?
right there. Huh?
Raising barns?
Raising barns, yeah. Pulling weeds, whatever. Planting poison ivy, whatever they need to do.
Good community spirit.
It is. They had a public hearing then, and the public hearing was truth in act and taxation. That means they have to define where your millages are coming in terms of expense, where they're going, how much you're paying for the millages, for example. The total millage for Addison Township is 7.5063. That's pretty low millage.
No.
What you think?
How much is Oxford's?
But that could be, it's quite a bit higher.
Is it?
The village is 9.68, I think it is, just for the
In
village.
Oxford?
And
And then on top of that is the
on top of that,
township.
you have the township if you live in the village. So yeah, no, it's pretty low, and that explains why there's a lot of new home construction going there, and we'll talk more about that when we come back right after this. Yeah.
Hi, this is Dave Kenny. You can catch me on Auto Talk and Science in the News as part of Oxford News this week. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 12 noon, 6:30 p.m., and 11 p.m. Also, you can catch us on the weekend at 12 noon and 11 p.m. on Saturday and at 6:30 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Sunday. See you there.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about what went on at the trustees meeting in Addison Township. And we got to the point where we were talking about total millage of 7.5063 is
And how relatively low it is.
How relatively low. Now we can break that down, and the general operation mills is at 1.0331. Now I expect you folks to remember all these numbers, but fire operating expense millage is 2.250. Fire capital, in other words, is 0.7358. The police department out there in the sheriff's department contract agreement is 3.4874. Total 7.5063. There we go.
So to educate me and possibly some of the public, what exactly is a mill?
Why don't you tell me? You know.
I do not.
You do too?
You don't?
I do.
But you're not saying?
No. I want you to find out.
Jeez.
It's to be continued. Take
I
a
love
note.
a question being answered
Take a
by
note.
a question.
Take a note. Okay. No public comment
don't know.
concerning this. So yeah. Anyway, he really likes this, folks. He really pretends he don't, but he really does like looking things up for himself. 2020.
Blank sheet of paper.
Yeah. 2020 budget public hearing to adopt in March. No public comment on that whatsoever. Road chloride agreement for 2019. And they waived the bid process because the lowest bid came in from road maintenance. road maintenance company. And they've been doing it in the past, and since it was the lowest bid, they didn't see any reason to go out further.
Okay.
So it was approved as well. 2019 agreement for spring clean up agreement. You know that you folks out there, once a year, put together a lot of volunteers, and a company who's willing to come in with their large trucks and everything to pick up debris, you know, things like he has in his front yard, old couches, old chairs, old bicycles, old cars. They pick all this stuff up. Maybe not cars, but they have loaded, for example, I forget.
Where do you live?
Well, all this stuff, people have a tendency to take it out to the beautiful area of Addison and disrupt the beauty by throwing this crap, I want to say a crap, all
You just
over the
did.
place. Right. So you good people out in Addison, you're the ones that go through once a year and you clean up this thing. You have a regular cleanup day.
And if you see all those black bags with debris in them, you'll know that the good citizens of Addison were out there.
Yes. And Sunrise Management is the company who they hired to do this. And it runs approximately $2,000 for their service. They're a company, and they couldn't get anybody to actually do what these people do. They sent out requests for it, nobody would respond, and quite frankly, Pauline Bennett said that she had a bended knee and actually pleaded, for this company to please do something to help them, get this trash out. So they've been real receptive in working with you folks out there in Addison Township. So again, that was approved, and I'm trying to think. Let me see, they waived the purchase bid process, and the agreement here is for 1 year only. Now, Pauline tried to get them to go with a longer term, 3 years, but they weren't willing to bite on that.
This being the trucking company.
The trucking company, yep.
Right.
Now, in doing this, they said, well, how many people actually show up, work on this cleanup day? They said, well, I don't know, I think it's 2. No, I think it's 300. I think it's 4. They said, well, we need to take a count on it. Does anybody here,
They must register to do it, to be in a certain position at a certain time.
And also, how many locations do they pick up?
Right.
So, and it could be 100, could be 200, could be 1,000. I don't know. They don't know either. But Jacob Newby says,
As long as we're definite.
yeah. Jacob says, oh, wait a minute. I'll volunteer. Volunteer to what? I'll do the count. Oh, you know how to count? He said, of course I know how to count. He said, okay, then all you folks here, that are on this board, do you agree that Jacob should do this count? All the hands went up, yay. And Jacob says, okay, I guess so. So he's going to take a count on it, which is good. The guy's pretty precise in what he does, so I'm pretty sure they'll get a good count. And thank you, Jacob, for the voluntary work. And that was pointed out by Clerk
Bennett.
Bennett, that person, that Bennett person, that one. Not the other Bennett, but this one.
Pauline,
right? There is no other Bennett, by the way, not in Addison Township that I know of that does this kind of stuff. But she pointed out to Jacob that, this is strictly voluntary. You don't have to do this. He says, hey, try and talk me out of it? No. He didn't really say that, but we could say that. We spread a rumor, right? But anyway, Jacob is very much willing to roll up his sleeves and help, as most of you people over there in Addison are, which is a good thing. Budget work session. Budget was reviewed and open for discussion. They did converse about that for a period of time.
Yeah, they have, their fiscal year is different than the township and the village in Oxford, which is calendar. I think theirs goes from March to March or something like that.
I believe you're right. Are you sure of that?
Relatively.
Okay. Which relative told you?
96% confidence.
Okay. If he says 96% confident, I'm probably much assured that that's probably what it is. Because usually he says, I'm 10% confident. But anyway, that worked out well. New home construction. I wanted to point that out in the fact that Addison Township has received more money this year through their permits and through their inspections, all those kind of things, because new home construction has really excelled in 2018 compared to any other previous year.
Well,
and they look for even...
Good for them.
Right. They look for even greater prosperity in 2019. So the budget has been adjusted
Are
proportionally.
they concerned that their bucolic arrangement out there, their wonderful pastoral view of the world will be changed by an increased population?
No, because they got pretty good control of the master plan out there
Okay.
and the zoning control. When you look at Leonard, they'd like to have, of course, a municipal sewer system over there. And because, you know, it's a tough area to put a septic field in, because if you stick a fork in the ground, you get a geyser.
Oh, well,
Water isn't far to find, you know, out there. So they like to see a municipal
like to ship it
program.
out.
Yeah. And actually, the Leonard president, Mike McDonald, he's actually looking into some way that they can maybe put together a municipal system, at least start, and then
Would that be
make it
self-contained
progressive.
or utilize some larger system?
That I think they're looking at, and they're also looking at ways of financing it. And I mean, they haven't given it up in terms of, you know, future requirements, you know, for the village. But anyway, let's get back to Addison Township, which of course Leonard is part of that
If you
township.
keep delaying something like that, of course, it will come to the point where you don't have any choice.
Sure, everybody on the board dies and somebody else is on it. That's what happens. I've seen that happen before. Okay, let me see. What came up is also a compliment came to Lori Fisher.
Oh,
That they said, one of the members said, how come the interest on this is showing such good dividends? And she says, well, I work through the county investment program, which is rather unique. And so she said, that's why. Yeah, and they said, well, great, way to keep an eye on it.
okay.
So good for Lori. Wage resolution for fire department. Some of the firemen received 5% raises. Fire chief was brought up to a level where, in comparison to other communities and what they're getting paid, and what was happening is that a lot of firemen were getting more than what the chief was getting, and he's the guy in charge. So they did adjust that and take care of it. Public forum, no public wanted to speak. Supervisor's report, DTE. You people have had power problems out there in Addison Township. Guess what? DTE is going to come in, going to clear out all those trees that are causing problems with lines.
All those beautiful trees?
Well, not all the beautiful, ugly ones.
I know.
Just
Just the ugly ones, folks.
Speaking of ugly ones, what you got coming up here? One ugly one.
one meeting. On 2/28, the Oxford Township Planning Commission will be meeting at 7 o'clock, and that's all she wrote.
That's all you got, huh?
That's all I got.
I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Catch us next time right here on Minutes by Minute.
See you then.